everyone. I'm Chris Murphy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Albion Knitting Company. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I'm sharing the stage with Molly Wade, my colleague at Albion Isle of Man. Before we get into a discussion of Albion's journey, I wanted to share with you a video we made with one of our customers, which I think explains quite visually what we do.
There is something special about the Isle of Man, the way the fresh air flows throughout our creations. Every stitch carries a little of the island with it. Expedition-grade knitwear has been made in Britain for generations, a craft that demands patience, precision and skill. Each Shackleton piece begins existence as the finest European spun yarns, soft to the touch, yet strong enough to endure a lifetime of wear. The hero was inspired by the sweater worn by Sir Ernest Shackleton himself aboard the Endurance. Super G long lamb's wool, a basket weave design, crafted for resilience and a symbol of quiet strength. Made here on the Isle of Man, born from the spirit of adventure. And the Nimrod, rugged, dependable, timeless, named for the 1907 expedition that pushed the limits of what was thought possible. A blend of lamb's wool and cashmere for warmth, structure and the courage to face the cold. When you hold one of these knits, you're holding more than a sweater. You're holding a piece of British expedition heritage crafted with care, built to endure and inspired by those who dared to go further.
So I hope that gave you a good idea of what we do. In our lingo, we are described as a fully fashioned flat knitting operation. So what does that mean? In layman's terms, that means we make beautiful sweaters for luxury brands. That relationship is founded on 4 key principles. We're very much design driven. Our customers provide the creative input, and our job is to technically understand that creativity and build a knitwear product around that. Quality is paramount. I know that sounds a little passé, but we are not a fast fashion business. We are a luxury textile business. If you want to be in textiles today and build a profitable business in the UK or on the Isle of Man, you have to understand quality and you have to sell into a market that demands quality. So that really underpins everything that we do. The first stage of our process, the electronic knitting, is highly computerized, highly technical, but that then transfers to a very traditional process which is rooted in generations of hand skills that have been passed down for many years, and we really try to celebrate that at Albion. Another passion and another, I think, founding principle of what we do that partially describes the choice we made to come here is disruptive solutions to very common problems. Albion, I've been working in textiles for almost 30 years now, and in 2014, I made the decision to reshore part of the business to London. Of course, everybody thought I was bonkers at the time. Why would anybody want to transfer manufacturing from China, where everybody was going, back to London, where everybody was leaving the manufacturing sector? So I think in the Celtic spirit, as a Celtic heritage person myself who's moved to a Celtic nation, I think this idea that disruptive solutions to common problems is very important. And that fits with the Isle of Man biosphere, responsible manufacturing. We work for a number of global groups, including Kering, LVMH, Hermès, Chanel, And these are companies that increasingly put a lot more emphasis on where they produce their goods. So to demonstrate that you are a responsible manufacturer, you are careful about how you produce energy, how you use energy, is becoming really increasingly important. Some of you may know that from 2027, the EEC is rolling out what's called a digital product passport. So everything you wear, if it was made in the EEC, will have to have that coded into the garment. And that DPP will describe every stage of the production process, where the raw materials came from, where it was spun, where it was woven, where it was knitted. And this degree of knowledge about the supply chain and traceability is becoming so much more important, and that's something we welcome. Just briefly again, our journey. I still have a successful business in China. We reshored part of that to London in 2014, and then we made the decision, with the support of the Department of Enterprise, to move the entire London business to the Isle of Man in 24, and we started manufacturing, I think, on the 5th of January 2025, after a 6-month build-out of the factory we purchased in Ronaldsway. A few benchmarks along the way. We won the King's Award for Industry in 2024 for exceptional performance in international trade, and we were very grateful to receive the Freedom to Flourish Award in 2025 in the Isle of Man. I guess the question in the room that everybody really wants to understand better is, why would you rehome a business from London to the Isle of Man? There are some key points which I'd like to share with you. It's no surprise to anyone, perhaps, that the tax environment is a draw, but it's certainly not the own one or the main one even. Immigration, visas, skills, attitude to how you can recruit and keep your staff here was very important to Albion. Our industry over the last 30 years was really downgraded by all the offshore operations that were springing up. So it was very important for us that we could bring skilled staff here. We managed to bring 50% of our London staff with us and recruited also from the Manx talent pool. And I'm very glad to say that we have, I think, 15 local employees working at Albion now. And dedicated business support, I think that's been mentioned today. Again, very important. If you want to come to this island, you do have access to government who've been incredibly supportive to Albion. When we left London, Haringey Council had really no interest in the future of our business there. We were the biggest textile employer in Haringey, and I still don't even think they noticed we left, to be honest, which stands in stark contrast to the reception we got from the government here, who I have to say, without their support, this move would not have been possible. What about the USPs? There may be people here who are interested in starting a business in the Isle of Man. So what can we leverage in terms of Manx heritage, Manx culture, Manx DNA, Celtic heritage to leverage that choice and use it to our benefit? What I've seen in my business, which I'm quite proud of, is that once Albion decided to move to the Isle of Man, a lot of creative directors and designers were asking me about that move, like, why would you make that move and what does that mean for what you can offer to us? And we've been quite successful to introduce heritage yarns. So, for example, one of our biggest customers, Chloe, I think a French brand that you're all familiar with, we now buy Donegal yarn from Donegal Spinning Company in Ireland. We knit those sweaters on the Isle of Man, and from there they're sold all over the world. So that's really a nice success story of a Celtic supply chain that just simply did not exist before. Chloe would have been using yarns from Italy and other places, and now you can go into a Chloe shop and buy a sweater with yarn spun in Ireland and made in the Isle of Man. Another aspect that we really would like to explore further is the Manx diaspora. I think going forward, right now we're a B2B business model. We sell to luxury brands, and apart from our TT product, we don't sell direct to customer. But I think going forward, there is an opportunity within the Manx diaspora to try and reach out to that community with a more of a heritage product of our own. Again, the biosphere, I think that's a huge deal. It was an important choice that we made when relocating. And again, with the help of the local government, we've invested in renewable energy. So we now have the largest solar energy generation plant in the Isle of Man, and that's currently producing about 70% of our energy needs. And again, going back to the point about corporate social responsibility, these are things that your customers will be looking at. Albion is audited several times a year, and the carbon footprint of the fashion chain is a big topic of discussion. And luxury brands and the people that own luxury brands are looking more and more at how things are made, how much energy is consumed in making that product. So the fact that Albion is now able to supply 75% of its energy needs through solar power, that's a big tick in the box for Albion. And I'd like to, Molly's going to talk a little now about the Manx talent pool. It's been a pleasure to see how the Manx workforce has added to our talent pool. So I'm going to hand over to Molly, and she's going to tell you of her experience.
So, a brief outline of my career previously. I am from the Isle of Man originally, and like many others, I left the island to pursue a career in fashion, and I've spent the last 9 years in London. In my last role, I was working in bridal and couture at Vivienne Westwood, and whilst I was there, I definitely didn't anticipate my next step in my career taking me back to the Isle of Man. But whilst Albion's own brand mission to disrupt the fashion industry and production models as we see them really does align with my own aspirations for my career, it gives me the opportunity to work with globally recognised brands across the world, across Europe, America, and the UK, but from the Isle of Man. And at the same time, we also support some emerging designers as well. So it really is a diverse range of clients that we kind of cater to their needs. We work with clients on a day-to-day basis to support their development process, and we build viably commercial products for their business, which allows me to observe some mature brands and the way they operate their design process and understanding their own strengths and the challenges they face. But being able to take away that knowledge and convert it into applicable experience for some of our younger businesses as well, that kind of sharing and passing of knowledge is really important in the industry to preserve it and give those opportunities to the smaller and newer professionals. In the same way, Albion coming to the Isle of Man is bringing their experience and their knowledge from operating on a global scale to the job market over here, which we are able to now share with the next generation of creative professionals who are starting their careers in the industry. Albion's investment in the Isle of Man has really disrupted the job landscape as we know it. And for people like me with careers in fashion, it allows us to bring our skills back to the island and nurture our heritage and our economy in a way that wasn't possible for creative professionals before. And the impact of this over the next 10 years, we don't know how that's going to look, but I know it's something that we should all be leaning into, and it's definitely something that I want to be a part of.
Thank you, Molly. I won't keep you much longer, just to wrap up, I'll share with you a few things on the horizon. So where does Albion go from here? We're 18 months into our manufacturing project. We smashed it out of the park in the first year. We raised our turnover from 5.5 million to 7 million pounds. which I think was a good result for the first year in a brand new location. We've had help from DFE to remodel our facility. When we left London, we rented about 10,000 square meters, which was doubling in price every 2 years. So were the business rates, so was the corporation tax. So we're hoping, off the back of our successful launch, to renovate the rest of Barul House, which was the industrial property we purchased in 2024. Albion Knitting School in London, which is the only presence we have now in London, but it's an educational one. So the entire industrial operation moved here to the Isle of Man, and we started the Albion Knitting School in London, which is training the next generation of designers and particularly programmers. We're not here to build the next, or to train the next Marc Jacobs. We're here to give young British textile pathway undergraduates and postgraduates the hard skills they need to work in the fashion industry. And I'm glad to say Albion Knitting School is really starting to grow very fast. Yeah, and lastly, I just hope that the decision we've made to relocate to the Isle of Man will continue to be a good one. If you look back at COVID, if you look back at Trump tariffs, if you look back at what's happening in the Middle East right now, I think we all realize that overstretched global supply chains are trouble. And if we want to be more sustainable, if we want to really celebrate responsible manufacturing, you know, this is not virtue signaling, this is not greenwashing. These are important business decisions that we need to make, and you need to make as consumers to buy things more locally. We're proud of what we do here. We hope Albion will continue to grow, and thank you for welcoming us to your home. Thank you.